All right, everybody, scenario number 5, just 2 left, so we're just about done here. Scenario number 5, we are going to be looking at the distribution of wealth in America. So we're going to find out how many people, what percentage of our population has all the wealth, and let's just have a look here. This is a pretty profound set of data. So the first link that we're going to look through is going to give us the percentages of, let's just have a look at it. We'll just kind of look at this as we go. This first link gives us a very nice chart and a lot of other information. You guys can read this. It's extremely interesting. This is the chart we're looking for, and it gives us the distribution of wealth from 2010. And it's a chart that shows us that the top 1%, the households in a wealth group, only 1% of the population is in that top wealth group, while 40% of the population is in the bottom part of the wealth group. And then we have, what, 50%, kind of in the middle here, or you could say 40% in the middle. And then on the other bar, it shows us how much of the wealth each of those population percentages has. And this is we're gonna actually create a chart that's gonna be easier for us to understand than this is. So the top 1% of the population owns 35.4% of the wealth. So what we are going to do is take this data from this chart and we are going to put it into Excel. I've actually already gone ahead and done this because you guys by now should be very good at creating these charts. So I created a chart, households in the wealth group, owner of all U.S. wealth, and I just took that from right up at the top of this chart. And then I typed in 1%, 4%, 5%. Of course, I selected my data, made it percent first. And then over in the right-hand side of the chart, I've recorded the wrong data. You guys are going to use the data from this chart over here. It's important to me that you're collecting your data from the websites, not from my video. I'm going to work on a way to prevent that in the future. So I just put the wrong data in because now at a glance I can look at your Excel report and just see if you have my data or the data from the website. So please make sure you use the data from the website so I don't have to take off any points. And then of course I just selected the data and then inserted, and you can see on your form it tells you which types of charts to insert. The first one tells me to insert a 3D stacked column. So the 3D stacked column is what you see there, and then my second instruction tells me to insert a 3D column chart. So these are the two charts that you guys are going to insert here. And then you're going to use these charts to discuss the distribution of data during your Excel report. You're going to tell us, look at this orange bar. This orange bar represents the owner of all of the wealth. And the blue bar represents the households in that wealth group. Well, you see the little blue piece down there? And look over here on our other chart. You see this little blue piece? That's the number of households that own this orange amount of wealth. So according to my data, which is different than your data, 1% of the population owns 37% of the wealth, approximately 36.7. And then if you look over here on the other end of the spectrum, what do we have? We have 40% of all the households in America. So 40% of every household in our country splits less than 1% of the wealth. So 1% of the population owns 40% of the wealth almost, and then 40% of the population owns less than 1% of the wealth. So you can kind of see how, there's some balance here in the middle, but if you look at either end of the spectrum, that's, pretty outrageous. And that gives us a better visual of this chart that we looked at in our last module. And you guys have a web link I sent you to where you can actually go collect this chart. You can find this chart all over the internet. There's a lot of data surrounding this chart. Next semester, over the summer, I plan to learn how to make a chart like this in Excel so I can actually recreate it in the course rather than just snipping it. But until then, we'll snip it. And you guys are going to use the above information to talk about why this data has outliers and it's not normally distributed. So we just looked at some of that previously. I really need to hear you guys talk about the spread of the data. So when you're writing your report, think about how you would answer a question about the spread and the skewedness of this data. Write your report accordingly. All right, then the third part of this scenario, we are simply following two more web pages actually. I give you one and then you find one on your own. So the next one, I'm just looking at a graph that tells me where our federal tax dollars go. So this graph right here is actually split into a bigger piece and then a smaller piece. I did try to recreate this actual thing in Excel. I saw a tool for it, but I didn't have time to teach myself all this stuff to show you. So instead, we're just going to take all of this stuff, see, all of these entries, and we're going to create our own pie chart. And it's going to be a big pie chart, and it's going to have all of this information. So when you guys create your chart, I just typed all this in. I can't remember if I was able to cut and paste it from their graph. Was I? No, you can't cut and paste it. But you know what I do? I go to my Word document, and it's not cheating, it's using my resources. I go to my Word document, see if I can find a good blank space here, and I use my microphone and I just make it write all the stuff for me, and then I copy and paste it. Watch this. Defense and international security assistance. Social Security. Medicare, Medicaid, CHIP, and Marketplace subsides. You see that? Pretty cool, huh? And whoops. And you know, you can see it says manicure instead of Medicare. So you have to enunciate, pronunciate, and project very well. If you have trouble pronouncing things properly, you can practice by reading stuff into your Google too. Just showing you guys, I didn't actually type all this, but I did go back through and, you know, make some corrections. All right, so then I just entered the percentages that I found there. And we did it for this pie chart as well as the little pie chart that was pulled out. So then I simply selected my data and inserted a pie chart. You guys know how to do that. See, there was this option for this little pie chart, but I wasn't able to make it work the way I wanted to. And I did spend a good 2 hours trying. I spent a lot of time also trying to create that distribution graph and the proportional Venn diagram. So that's actually why this Excel report is late, because I wanted to make it extra cool, but I had to revert to this, but that's okay. I'll keep progressing and it'll be better next term. So now here I have my pie chart of where our federal taxes are dispersed. A couple things that were profound to me. First of all, I'm actually working on a health statistic for this course to show where our Medicaid money goes. How do we spend it? It turns out we spend a lot of Medicaid money. We're going to do a Venn diagram on that. I don't know if I'll have it done this semester or not, but we spend a lot of Medicaid money on drug addiction. Most of it goes to diseases caused by obesity. And now, of course, we're learning so much more about the genetically modified organisms in our food that a lot of our Medicare costs also are being put toward that. So we have a lot of these Medicare costs that could be cut down if we could balance our nutrition and, you know, just make some other choices all around. This is a thing that really got me, and it's right here. Look at it. What if we got our nutrition balanced out and we were able to spend less money on Medicare and medical expenses, that we were able to start spending a decent amount of money on education? Now, I've turned this into a mess because I'm trying to zoom in on the graph. I'm accustomed to my nice, easy using my touch screen, but for some reason my touch screen is not working today. So you guys can look at your graph. You see education is only 2% of all of our federal tax dollars go to education. I don't know how much of our state taxes go to education. It could balance out there. I'm not sure. You guys are going to find that out, because the last part of this assignment is, I know you guys like me to have everything big, but it makes it really hard on me. But that's okay. The last part of my assignment says, wow, this is number 5, yay. To go to the World Wide Web and, let me get this little yellow thing. Go to the World Wide Web to find a link with information about where our state taxes go. So you guys are actually going to go out there all on your own, find your own website that tells where our Arkansas state taxes are found, and you're going to create a pie chart just like the one we did for the federal taxes. And then your 5-sentence summary, you're going to talk about the distribution of wealth in the U.S., explain why the average household income is not normally distributed. We did that in our Module 1 Excel report. I want you to use vocabulary like it's skewed right, it has outliers, the mean and median are completely different when I throw an outlier in there, and we can't use the standard deviation as a measure when the distribution is not normal. So I want to hear all of that in your report. Explain where your federal taxes go, where your state income tax goes. And guys, I want to hear you tell me that 2% about education on the federal taxes, is that made up in our state taxes? So I'm real curious to see how much of our state taxes goes to education. All right, and then it looks like we're done with scenario number 5, and we are ready to move right into scenario 6. Good job, you guys. Keep up the great work, and I will see you in just a moment.